Hey, this is Chris Jericho of Fozzy, and you're listening to the interactive interview. And remember, we are huge rock stars.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
The latest edition of the interactive interview on the interactiveinterview.com with our special guest, Y2J, Chris Jericho. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing real good. I was at a recent concert, a Dawkins concert actually, and I was talking to many of the fans there about you guys, Fozzy. And the most common response I got was comparing you guys to Spinal Tap and that they're not sure if they should take you guys seriously. Given your gimmicky beginning, do you think it has hindered the bands being taken seriously as a musical force?
I don't know. It's kind of a pros and cons type thing. I mean, we started just as a fun thing, playing covers with a group of friends, and we had the gimmick before. And I guess the biggest answer to that question would be just to listen to the new record, all our names, and make your own conclusions from it. We realized that we kind of had a different past, and we knew that we would have to really, whip some serious ass on this record, make the best possible record that we could to really show what we had. We knew that we'd get one chance to kind of to clear away all the misconceptions of what our band is, and we would have one chance to hit the ball out of the park, and we've done that. I think that everyone will agree with it. So I guess I respond to people by saying that is that if you think that way, then just check the record out once. If you don't think that way, then that's cool. But I think if you listen to all that remains, it'll change. I think everyone's going to change. That's exactly what Fozzy is.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, your first two albums were mostly covers. The second one had about half new material and covers. A lot of the songs that you covered on there are songs that I actually play on this show. Do you think that you're covering these songs kind of breathes new life into those songs, or do you think, how do you think the people should receive them?
I think it does, and that's one thing that we always did whenever we played our covers, but we always put a modern spin onto it, and we always made sure to, heavy them up a bit and make them more Fozzy-esque, put that Fozzy sound, that Fozzy spin on them, and that actually is what led us to where we are today when, like I said, we played 2 shows and got, a record deal right off the bat, sight unseen and sound unheard, so we were kind of, the record company was into the whole cover thing, so we did that, and then once we kind of outgrew that, and we started, working on our own original stuff, and like I said, we still always had kind of a Fozzy slant on things. And a lot of people said that some of our cover versions were better than the originals. So we knew that we had some really great chemistry as a band, and great chemistry as songwriters. So we knew that we owed it to ourselves and owed it to the future of the band. If there was still going to be a Fozzy and still going to be a band, it's got to be based on the original, original songs and original material. So like I said, we knew that we had a big cast in front of us, and we took the bull by the horns and really make sure to make the best record that we can make. And I think if anybody that listens to it is going to be very pleasantly surprised as to what we are and what we do. Rock record of the year, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. My girlfriend Pam, who's also a big 80s metalhead just like me, bought your first 2 albums, and she, I don't believe, has seen one wrestling match in her entire life, so she really didn't even know that you're a wrestler. Do you think that the fans outside of the wrestling business have had the opportunity to discover the band?
Some people have. I mean, every time we have a show, I always ask people, we have a lot of shows after WWE events, and I always ask who came here from the WWE and who came here just to see Fozzy, and it's becoming more and more people coming to see Fozzy, and that's good, because if the band is going to have any kind of longevity and any kind of, lifespan, it's going to have to cultivate its own fans, and I think we've done that, and like I said, I think All That Remains is really the defining record for us. It's our debut record in a lot of ways, and we're not an 80s metal band. We played 80s songs before, but I think the material that we play is Fozzy music. I mean, there's some elements, 80s elements to it, but it's more of a modern-sounding record, not modern in a bad way, but kind of taking the elements of what made 80s metal cool, the harmonies and the melodies, and kind of really making a very heavy version of that. And like I said, I think people are going to be very surprised and pleasantly surprised when they hear the record. And I think it's going to help us to really cultivate even more fans, because that's one reason why we've even been able to make it this far and have 3 records. We do have kind of a cult fan base around the entire world, so this is giving us a chance to definitely on that.
What I've been calling you guys, and I have the 3 CD sampler, the 3-song sampler of the new CD. I've been calling it glammy alternative. So.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that. I kind of compare it to people ask me what's the sound of a band. I always say it's kind of Pantera combined with Journey. You know, it's
right.
The heaviness of a Pantera song and kind of the harmonies of an Iron Maiden song. It's got that really hooky melodic edge to it. You know, that you hear. A Journey would sing or something along those lines.
Yes.
There's elements of all that. That's kind of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've mentioned a few bands' names there, so let me throw you this one. If hypothetically, Fozzy could open for any band anywhere in the world right now, who would it be and why?
I mean, there's a lot of bands. I mean, obviously, Metallica would be a lot of fun to play with, and a band like Kiss would be great. But I think for us, I think we'd have a lot of fun touring with a band like Black Label Society. There's a lot of similarities between our bands. The label's a little heavier, we're a little bit more melodic, but it's still based around the same thing, which is just playing some driving heavy rock with great solos and some great melodies and great hooks. And we're good friends with Zach and fans of the band and friends with all of us. So that would be an interesting story to look into.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Kiss. You were actually on a Kiss tribute album, Spin the Bottle. I have it. It's a damn good album. I just have a question, and this is like a stupid question, but it's something that I've been wondering since I bought it. Who is that on the cover?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's big guns.
Yeah, I know. I just.
Who that is. I'll give her a call. we should find out who it is. We should do like a website search and see. Is their name not on the record cover?
It's not even in the booklet. I mean, I've been looking for it. I've been trying to figure it out, and I've been reading like reviews of the album, and people are just saying, "Well, who is that?"
We need to track her down, man. We need to find her and conquer her.
Who is the chick on the spinthebottlecover.com? Okay.
Exactly. And where can we get her number?
Yes.
We want to take her out for dinner.
Absolutely. Well, let's take this to a quick wrestling spin here. With all the talk of ECW lately, and I know that they asked you this question in the ECW release, let me just give you a quick word association, ECW.
Sure.
Okay, ECW.
Oh, let's see, ECW, fun.
Yeah, that's what you said, yeah.
And it was a real place to work. It was a lot of fun. And, once in a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've obviously heard the rumours or not, but what are your thoughts on the WWE possibly running an ECW-owned pay-per-view?
I don't know. I think ECW was a time and a place. And I think it's very hard to create that time and place, especially with the WWE spin on it, because it won't have the same heart that it had when it was in its heyday. So, you probably have fun with it and put some of the old names back on there again and stuff, but it's still a WWE version of ECW, and I think it loses a lot of its integrity and a lot of its kind of maverick attitude by having that.
Many of our former guests have said that they should just let ECW rest in peace. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah, like I said, I think there's a time and a place, and it's kind of like Kiss putting the makeup back on. It's cool, but after it's all said and done, it's kind of like you can't go back to 1978 no matter how hard you try.
Right. I agree with that. Okay.
It's not the same time,
Yep. Okay, question for you is, I've honestly never been more entertained by you than your WCW Cruiserweight title run. Now, you've been pretty outspoken that WCW really didn't give you a chance to shine, but how much of all the ideas, like you going to the Library of Congress and things like that, were your idea?
A lot of them are pretty much all my ideas. Like when the Library of Congress thing was like, I showed up in Washington. They said, okay, here's your camera. We want you to go do something. I said, what do you want me to do? And they said, we don't know. We need some film, so go do something. So I kind of like, okay, well, let's go to the Library of Congress and we'll work on the conspiracy theory thing and blah, 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 blah. That's kind of how that all came to pass. And that's kind of a lot of the stuff in WCW was like that. It's kind of like skin your teeth and just kind of take what you get and make it the best that you can do. And I got very good at being able to do that over the years. So, but yeah, that was fun. It was fun. Looking back on it, was actually a pretty fun time.
Yeah. They teased a feud with you and Goldberg where you beat the little midget Goldberg at the Fall Brawl, which was hysterical. But that match never took place, not in WCW anyway. Why didn't that actually take place?
Just politics. I don't think that Goldberg was too into it because people were in his ear telling him that it wasn't a good idea. And I thought it could have been a little bit of a money-making feud, not revolutionary, but it could have made some money, and they just didn't want to do that. And that's kind of where I decided that it was best for me to look elsewhere and move along. when that feud never took place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were quite outspoken, as James said, about your time in WCW, and obviously you quite wanted to leave by the end of it. But what would you say your main reasons for leaving WCW were?
My main reasons?
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Just because of what I just basically said, like just the politics of it. And you couldn't really, there was a little, not a lot of advancement available, you know, and that's obvious because they don't have a business. So I just wanted to, I was been a WWF fan since I was a kid. I always wanted to work there, and I kind of made up my mind. In fact, it was kind of not a good place for young guys to be. It was more of an older guy's place, and that's basically the way that it worked out. So, and like I said, in retrospect, I'm very happy with my decision.
Now, of course, you are the first ever undisputed world champion in the WWE, and during your time, obviously, you had a long feud with Triple H. How did you feel about not only the title at that time, but your character and how it was handled?
I mean, it could have been better. You know, it's one of those things where I was just happy to be doing what I was doing. I thought it was a great honor to be the champion. And I did a lot of stuff that maybe, not a lot of stuff, there was a few things that I did that I probably wouldn't do nowadays, wouldn't have agreed with. But, you know, it's all part of the growing process. And, I mean, something that you can never take away, the fact that I was the first undisputed champion. And I my Stanley Cup ring, or my Oscar, so to speak. It could have been handled better, yeah. Could have been handled worse, yeah. So you take the good with the bad sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that WCW was an older guy's territory, and one of the guys that some people say wouldn't work with younger guys was Hulk Hogan, but when he went to the WWE, he did a short program with you. How was Hulk to work with both backstage and in the ring?
Hulk loved working with me, and it was a lot of fun to work with him because he knew that I would do my best to make him look great. And that's basically how it worked, is that he knew that he would stand there and I would do all the work and he'd get all the glory, and he was happy with that. It was fun. I mean, it was fun for a short period of time working with Hogan and knowing that he trusted my instincts and trusted my, my thought process, and it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. I enjoyed working with him.
Mm-hmm. The New Year's Revolution pay-per-view is coming up next week, this Sunday to be exact, and you're in the Elimination Chamber match. You're the only one that's been in every Elimination Chamber up to this point.
Well, that's not actually true. I think Triple H has been also.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You just stumped the Quizmaster.
There you go. Stumped the. There you go, buddy.
All right, so let me give you this question then. You've been in all the gimmick matches, the cage match, the Hell in a Cell match. How do you compare the Elimination Chamber to these matches?
The Elimination Chamber is a little bit more difficult because there's not a lot of stuff you can do in there. You got to be really smart. There's not a lot of room to maneuver, and it's kind of an interesting concept. So it's definitely something that I'm glad I've been in a couple of stuff for me to compare it to now. But you still have to be, have to be smart in how you work in a match. Like I said, it's difficult. It's not the easiest match to have. So.
One question here for the album. It comes out January 18th. It's called All That Remains. For wrestling fans, for rock fans, why should they check it out?
Well, like I said, if you like Fozzy in the past, you're going to be blown away, over the top, love this. If you've never heard of Fozzy before and you like heavy music, I suggest you give it a chance because it'll blow you away. And if you've heard of Fozzy, if you thought the whole concept was stupid or didn't dig it, once again, just check it out. Listen to it once. If you like it, if you don't like it, I can live with that. But I think everyone's going to be really pleasantly surprised. One of the quotes that we have, and we made an ad that's in Guitar World this month and in Raw Magazine with quotes from a bunch of different people in the industry. And one of the guys from the QC Music Network said it's what's missing from the radio today. And like I said, it's got some great musicianship and some great choruses, and it's very catchy. And like I said, I'm really excited for everybody to hear it.
I know. I know you're short on time, but can we give you maybe 5-word associations just to let you go?
Sounds good.
All right. First one on my list is Paul Stanley.
Ultimate frontman.
Sting.
Wrestler. Mediocre. Musician. Unbelievable.
Okay. Shawn Michaels.
One of the best ever.
Triple H.
What really comes to mind?
And
WWE today.
And the final one that I have for you is Vince McMahon.
Great boss. and visionary.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us once again, January 18th, by All That Remains by Fozzy. We really can't thank you for joining us, and I really can't wait to check you guys out in concert. You guys, it's good to see a band out there that actually likes performing live.
Where do you live?
I live in Arizona. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the last one that you guys were at about a couple months ago.
Hopefully we can come back again, man. We have a lot of fun to play live. We take pride in the fact that everybody has a good time whenever we play. So.
Yeah.
I think we're actually coming to England in February as well to play some shows. So keep your eyes open for that. Go to FozzyRock.com for all the information, and we'll see everybody in England in February.
Go ahead.
All right, sounds good, Chris. Well, we really can't thank you enough, sir.
Thanks. Bye.
Stay tuned for more from the interactive interview.
This is everybody's favorite superstar, Rob Van Dam. You're catching me on the interactive interview.
Chris Jericho, and Daniel, don't forget, he's a huge rock star.
He is indeed.
Yes, he is. He'll be the first to tell you that, too.
He was.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, and I will say this about Fozzy. I do like the sound. I do think that the new album is a little bit too modern for my taste. I do like the first song that I played in the intro, though. I will say that, the Make Me Bleed song. That's pretty cool, but from what I've heard of it, I like some of it, I dislike some of it, but I guess that kind of goes with any album.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, nothing can, you know, there can't be an album in which every single song everyone will like. Obviously, there are some albums out there that, you know, a huge amount of songs will be hugely popular in the whole, you know, in general.
Right.
But you're not going to get a song that a country and western, an album that a country and western fan will like everything that's on it, or you know, a metal,
right,
or a glam rock fan like yourself will enjoy everything on, etc. It just won't happen. But they've done a good job.
Yeah, I agree with you. We had I have a big CD collection, and one of the things I got for Christmas was a 3 CD changer on my radio, a new radio that has a 3 CD changer on it. And, you know, no matter how many times it shuffles the songs, it always hits one clunker that, you know, you just think, I hate this song.
Exactly.
Even if you put the CDs in yourself because you have them and own them and want to hear them, there's always just 1 or 2 songs on an album that you just don't like. Anyway, the Fozzy album I think is pretty impressive, believe it or not. They tried real hard, and Jericho describes it as probably their tantamount to their debut album because it's all new material, which is fair. The only thing is I wouldn't want to discount the first 2 albums because I really enjoyed some of his covers. Like he said, I think some of them were actually better than the originals. So. Yeah.
Which is, of course, a hard thing to do in itself.
Yeah, well, that's the truth. But they modernized them, and usually I don't like when they modernize things, but recording equipment now is more high-tech than it was 20 years ago. Things can sound more crisp and clear, so that's kind of what they took advantage of. Plus, they did make them heavier, which is cool, too.
Yeah. I mean, for example, a lot of young teeny bopper fans will have been happy when, I don't know if they're big in America as well, but a band called the All Saints covered Red Hot Chili Peppers on The Bridge. And it just seems strange because it's like, you know, obviously it's a song about all of Anthony Kiedis' thoughts and feelings and stuff, and about heroin. And you've got a 3-prong female kind of, you know, trio covering it, and it's just like, okay. Okay, fair enough, but as long as there's a reason to cover something, cool.
Well, I was watching a show on VH1, which is our one of our music channels. We obviously have MTV, and VH1 is considered for the rock fans these days. Anyway, we was watching it, and they had the 40 least metal moments, and one of the covers was Celine Dion performing an AC/DC song.
Oh my.
And they called that one of the least metal moments. She took You Shook Me All Night Long, and she tried to sing it like this theme from the Titanic movie. And it was just horrible. Oh, man, it was... I think that I had the TV on pretty loud,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a sterile cat in the town anymore. It was just horrible.
I tell you, one thing I want people that are listening to this to go and download. Cry Me a River, okay, not by Justin Timberlake,
Okay.
by a band called Lost Prophets.
I've heard of them.
You should do. They're a Welsh band, and they're very good.
Mm.
But to download some of the other stuff while you're at it, and then when you download it, head over and buy their albums, and give back to the band as such by buying the stuff.
Well, when you download it, you should obviously pay the 99-cent cover charge or whatever it is to download.
Do that. But yeah, they do it as part of their live set, this cover of Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River. And it actually made it a really quite enjoyable song for me.
Yeah.
I really like the cover.
Well, there's been songs that I've liked the cover of better than the originals in terms of songs that I probably wouldn't even like the originals. One that comes to mind, and I know you're probably not going to know this, but somebody like me will, is when the Scorpions covered a song called, what was the name of that? Can't Explain. And it was a Who song, and they covered it, and they really improved it tremendously. I didn't like the original. I loved this version. But anyway, we also talked to Mr. Jericho about wrestling, his other passion, obviously, and obviously my other passion. And I think we got some pretty good answers from him.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, this was a hybrid interview, because that's what Chris does nowadays, putting over both the wrestling side of things and his rock star side of things, because both of them need talking about. And we asked him the questions that need to be asked.
Yes, sir.
Of course, with New Year's resolution. Is it New Year's revolution or resolution or revolution?
That's the confusing thing about these pay-per-views this year. All of them have an R in it. Well, New Year's Revolution, Final Resolution, and the Royal Rumble.
Right, so it's New Year's Revolutions.
Yes, sir.
Right, yeah. To be fair, a lot of people are, being a bit negative on it. But I'm actually looking forward to it.
Well, here's the deal about these. First of all, there's too many pay-per-views. I will not deny and stop to say that just because we had Jericho on, and I think he might even agree with that statement. I don't know for sure. I think he might. The only thing that I can say is they are actually making this one special by giving it something so huge and so rare like the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. And of course, it's actually going to be a little bit legitimately sold out because it's in Puerto Rico.
Who I don't believe have seen a WWE event in many, many years, if ever.
Let alone a pay-per-view.
Actually, the last time, yes, absolutely. I don't remember the last time. They might have been there in the past 20 years, but I remember that Gorilla Monsoon fought Andre the Giant in Puerto Rico, and they were wrestling like in a giant puddle because it was an outdoor venue and it was raining. And that has to be about 25 years ago. So.
Easily. For Gorilla to be wrestling.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, that's that could be as far back as it's been since they've been in Puerto Rico on TV. And that was not a pay-per-view, I could say that definitively. But it was a TV taping, so.
So, I mean, that is, it's already legitimately sold out. There won't be any tickets sold at the door. So anybody listening in Puerto Rico at the moment, the only way you're going to get a ticket to the event is off a tout, which we don't condone. But anyway, it's
absolutely
sold out and stuff now. So only way you can catch it would be on pay-per-view.
Yep.
As it will be the same with everybody else in the world, including me, because this is one of the events that's now a pay-per-view offering in the UK.
Is that? I had heard that they have taken away your free privileges. Is that true?
What they've done is, because of the addition of pay-per-views, 12 a year are now pay-per-views with to pay. And I think we get to get 6 or 8 free. Well, I think 10 might be pay-per-views and we get 8 free.
Huh.
So.
Wow, that's impressive. That's still a lot of pay-per-views for 1 year, for one company.
Exactly.
Plus you got to throw in TNA, having...
Yeah, I was going to say that for you guys in America, you got to throw in TNA.
Yes.
I haven't got the option to watch it, so...
Hopefully they'll clear that eventually. They're probably working on it now.
Yeah, probably.
They're trying hard, and I will give TNA credit. They are trying hard.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, a lot of people are here down on this New Year's Revolutions. But I think it's obviously going to be a long main event. You can tell that by the fact there's 6 matches announced. And one of those is the women's match. One of those is Maven versus Shelton Benjamin. So there's 4 matches proper announced.
And then there's probably going to be something involving the tag titles.
Yeah, there already is. There's the tag title match, which is Eugene and Regal versus
Christian and Tyson Tomko.
Is it?
It might be. You might have to check out the website.
Yeah, quickly, if you're at the computer, James, run across to the website, check that one out. I'm not sure who their opponents are.
If I can throw this comment in there about Christian, I was a fan of his at the beginning of the year because his sarcasm was hysterical.
Because of course it's now 2005 and is
the beginning of last year, I should say. Typing in Google. Or it's google.com. Now we'll type in WWE New Year's Revolution.
This is James's practice.
Let's see. Bye, New Year's Revolution. All right, here we go. There we go. WWE.com, New Year's Revolution. Here we are. Anyway, where were we?
Yeah, you said about Christian.
I was a big fan of his last year, the beginning of last year, because he had such a sarcastic heel character. And he was well on his way with his feud with Shawn Michaels to possibly becoming something really special. And somehow that got dropped.
Yeah.
I dislike the new theme song. I just don't think it fits him. I hate the ring jacket. I want to just take it off him and keep it off. There's just things about that I just... whatever they're doing to change him, they should stop because it's not necessary.
I like the idea of him and Tomko are a good team, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In that Tomko is like your typical movie villain. Movie henchman, should we say. He's kind of like Triple H is in Blade Trinity, because he's the guy that's there, and you know he's big and strong, but you know that he's never really going to be the top dog. He's not clever enough, and he's a big brute,
Right.
but he'll lose to the good guy at the end. Whereas Christian, you know, he's got character, he's got charisma, he's got ability, obviously. And I prefer him to Edge.
Hmm.
But
why does Batista's shirt have a sloppy-looking 3 on it?
I don't know. Who are the tag team challenges?
Sorry about that. I'm just looking at the, they have a little merchandise section right on the site, and it's a Batista t-shirt, and it looks like a sloppy written 3 as his t-shirt logo. Where are we? Actually,
News Revolution section.
Women's Championship. Doesn't seem to be that there is a Tag Team Championship. Intercontinental Championship is Shelton Benjamin is defending against Maven. Kane against Gene Snitsky, which could be pretty good. We have the Women's Championship match, which is Lita against Trish Stratus, and the Elimination Chamber with, well, you know who with.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, Triple H, Batista, Chris Benoit, and, am I missing somebody? Edge. Yes.
Okay, so I guess the tag team thing isn't announced.
I guess it isn't announced, but I think that they said it on Raw because I'm thinking back. I taped it and I watched bits and pieces of it, and I'm pretty sure that they, for whatever reason, had a non-title match involving Eugene and Regal against the challengers who will be facing them at the pay-per-view.
Oh.
Now, why they do that, I don't know. Because if you're having a pay-per-view match, why would you have them actually touch each other before the pay-per-view?
Okay. This isn't the part.
But there was a funny backstage skit with Regal. They're listening to some CD. I don't know who it is. Some woman with red hair from Long Island, New York. I don't know who she is, but they were listening to her CD. And Eugene's listening to it, and he's, Christy Hemme has him sing. And of course he's horrible, but you don't really expect much from him. So they walk off, and Regal picks up his little portable CD player, Eugene's portable CD player, and he puts it to his ear, and he starts singing and dancing in the middle of nowhere. He turns to the side, and he's doing the thing, and Christy Hemme just happens to walk right by again. And she's like, what are you doing? And I don't know, it just was a funny parody, because Regal has this, straight, and no offense, but that straight British, old-fashioned kind of proper gentleman kind of thing, I guess you could say. And it's funny to see him do something that's unexpected like that. That's why I think this pairing with Eugene is actually going to be good for him.
So that isn't announced, but I think there's going to be a tag match.
Yes.
I swear I read it being announced. Okay, whatever. And then there's Jerry Lawler against Hassan, whatever the good name is.
Yeah.
For some reason, I want to say Hassan.
Muhammad Hassan, I believe is his name.
Yeah, so...
And that also is not announced on the website, so they better update this.
Yeah, that's good. But, okay, so there's 7 matches.
Yes, and I think that's probably all you get. You might get the thrown-in match with Hurricane Helms against somebody.
Simon Dean, probably.
Yeah, which would be good for Simon, because I think I like the character. I will say I like the character.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity, and of course in time they're going to have to break free of the whole fitness stuff, but I think that's a good gimmick for him, the fitness powder. Yeah. Rick Martel had Arrogance, which was the perfume that he'd spray in people's eyes. Mr. Fuji had the salt he'd throw in people's eyes, and I think Simon Dean has the fitness powder that could be like his little heel gimmick.
Yeah.
Like how he cheats to win. And I like that. I think it's a great character. I know the internet, for whatever reason, has dumped on it, but I like it.
I think that's the sort of thing that could be the Heat main event, because of course there's always the in a sense it's the extra pay-per-view match, because they have it right at the end of Heat, and you know that it's going to go the 6 minutes that Heat has left. But yeah, they could always maybe have that in the Heat match. But Lawler versus Hassan, can't see it being anything other than a Hassan win, because there's no point in putting Lawler over.
There's no point in putting Lawler over, and Hassan could use a heel bump right away.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fresh off the bat, so WWE is trying to create a monster, so what do? They haven't beat an announcer.
Yeah.
Look at Heidenreich, they tried the same thing, so.
Yeah. I suppose at least Lawler's an actual...
has been an actual competitor,
Yeah, exactly. Tag team titles, considering they haven't even bothered updating the website with who's actually fighting, if they do have a tag team title defense, I can't see Regal and Eugene losing it.
I would keep them on them because I think they're a solid team. I think Eugene brings out the charisma for what it is in Regal, and I think it's a good pairing. I think I was a little well, first of all, I've always liked the Eugene character. I just never was too sure about Nick Dinsmore, but I'm impressed by him now.
Well, as a wrestler, or?
As a wrestler, yeah. I mean, I don't know much about his personal life, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay, fair enough. Good rebuttal. Shelton Benjamin against Maven. Does anybody really think Maven's going to win the IC title?
I just want to know what race Maven is. Because he looks a little darker skinned than he has, like, African American features.
Yeah.
But he doesn't look, but for whatever reason, I don't see him as black, so I don't know what he is.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think back to Tough Enough 1. I can't remember them saying anything in particular about Nathan's race. Nothing's given away in his mother, because of course the person who they said on screen in Tough Enough 1 with his mother was actually his auntie, so nothing's really given away there. Couldn't tell you. Very sorry, but do you think that Black Maven will win the US title?
Absolutely not. I don't think he should. I don't think he should. I think the heel turn is good for him. Unfortunately, I just don't think he's... They need a more packed roster on both shows, because most of the matches revolve around the same 10 guys or so. Now, WCW made a lot of mistakes. One of their mistakes was having too big of a roster. But if there's a healthy median there, where you can have a big roster, this way when some people get played out, you actually have other people you can play to. And you could actually have Muhammad Hassan beat up a current wrestler instead of an announcer.
Yeah.
You know, but they just need a more packed roster on Raw. Is all I'm trying to say.
Ignore the cough. Yeah, but I think they're going along the right lines of resting people and bringing them back, such as, Kane obviously enforced rest with the filming in the movie and stuff. Shawn Michaels out and then back. The Dudley Boys still to return on SmackDown. John Cena was out for a while, etc., etc. In the enforced in-ring absence of Carlito, etc. Maybe not all their own decision making. But at the same time, they are resting people, and that will freshen up the characters when they come back. Of course, someone who is returning in a match for the first time since his match against Snitsky at Taboo Tuesday is Kane.
I think that's a little rushed, actually.
Pardon?
I think it's a little rushed bringing him back the way they did.
You think so?
Well, first of all, I think it's a good move to boost pay-per-view buy rates to announce that match. I don't think the segment on Raw was necessary because I don't think people needed to see Kane. I think they would have tuned in to see if he actually show up. I think it's rushed because you had the Royal Rumble in 2 weeks. And, hold on just one moment. Getting over a cold. I've been getting over a cold for a month now. Anyway, you have the Royal Rumble in 2 weeks, and Snitsky could be in the ring throwing people out. And, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He doesn't even have to come out. You just have to have the music play and the explosion. Snitsky can look, and he can do one of two things. He can run away in fear like a chicken, or he can, throw his foot over the rope and try to run down the aisle after Kane, who hasn't been seen.
Yeah.
And they could play that up for a little while. And, of course, you can get the big payoff match at WrestleMania. But
True.
I think they rushed it a little bit. I don't think the Raw appearance was necessary, and it was an awkward pause there when Kane and Lita are standing in the ring together. She's looking at him, he's looking at her. Are they going to kiss? What the hell's going to happen here? Nothing happens. It's just kind of them standing there. And then the explosion, and this was funny. I don't think anybody caught this but me. They're standing in the ring looking at each other, and all of a sudden, the fire comes out of the turnbuckles, and they both jump.
That's what I read it on one site. Apparently, the reaction was something like, the pyro guy should be fined a week's wages.
Right.
It's a complete random pyroing.
Right. I think they're thinking, oh my God, Hassan's gone nuts. I don't know what's happened there.
Obviously, whoever was on the pyro button was getting a bit anxious and wanted the segment to end. So rather than wait for Kane to do the signal for it, set it off.
Because they both just jumped. It's pretty funny.
7-foot monster jumping, whose pyro went off.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I agree with that. I still think they're going to still go for Undertaker and Kane versus Heidenreich and Snitsky in tag match at WrestleMania. I don't know why. I don't know how they're going to play it out for that long, but I still think they're going to go for it.
It would be interesting to see how they can jump shows with it.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, they seem to be almost building...
Well, they did have that little confrontation, I think it was at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So that could lead to something at the Royal Rumble, who knows?
Exactly, and on the recap shows at the moment, I mean, I know they did the whole, the Raw, Best of Raw.
Yes.
Best of Raw. And they had, over here, while the Iraq SmackDown was going on, they had the Best of SmackDown.
Okay.
Over here. But obviously...
how was it?
I didn't watch it. So, I've got to be honest, I didn't watch it.
Okay.
But obviously, even with those shows going on, there's still the magazine shows as such, like Breakdown and Beatdown and Afterburn, whatever they're called, going on at the same time. So there has to be a magazine show of a recap show. And on those shows, for some reason, Todd Grisham and Ivory and all those people were pushing WrestleMania last year and WrestleMania this year as being the only shows where they can have inter-roster, inter-brand matches. So if they're pushing it like that from last year, then they're probably going to push it the same this year. And I wouldn't be even surprised to see, for example, maybe Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels or something else into brand.
I'd be surprised to see that. I think that, you know, I got the new game SmackDown vs. Raw for PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and I played that through, and it's a fun game. And one of the stories that actually struck my attention. Well, what if they eventually do a SmackDown vs. Raw event? They could sell that pretty well. I think they could probably use that for WrestleMania 22.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know whether they want to do it for WrestleMania. I don't know. I think WrestleMania will sell itself. I think something like that would help sell the Survivor Series, for example.
That might be a good idea, actually. Because they can have these survival matches.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they each have about 10 guys on the roster, so...
So they could have, like, 2 matches.
Yeah. That's the problem. They need a bigger roster, and they need to have matches that nobody really cares about, even if the internet gets mad about them. What they need to do on both Raw and SmackDown, which I think SmackDown has it done better than Raw, but I don't think SmackDown should brag about it, because their shows just haven't been solid enough of late. What SmackDown needs to do, and what Raw needs to do, is have matches that, first of all, the internet's not going to like Simon Dean against, let me think, what was one of the names that Simon Diamond was talking about? The Crustacean. You know, nobody knows, nobody cares. Have it be a squash match. Let this happen. Let there be a couple guys that are obviously not quite ready yet, and then let them get ready to be on the show. They just need to, WCW had the Cruiserweight division. They had jobbers. They had everybody. They had a huge roster. Too big. But they did have depth to their roster, and had they actually been creatively intelligent about the way they were running shows, they could have had a much more productive roster, and they could have given guys that were getting burnt out a chance to be off because they had somebody else to step in their place for the time being.
Yeah. I mean, SmackDown, they're almost doing this with the Kurt Angle invitation thing. But the problem is they're not giving whoever faces Kurt Angle any proper time. And they're setting it up as this is going to be someone dropping Kurt Angle really quickly. I mean, like, for example, this week they had Matt Striker on, in a Ring of Honor, Matt Striker, on there and stuff, and he lost quite convincingly, squashed in about a minute and a half. And so, I mean, yeah, okay, that's great. There's a match for the sake of it being a match as such, and there's a reward to it if there was going to be the upset.
And he gets to go to Ring of Honor and demand twice the money now because he's been on TV.
And I mean, fair enough. There's a reason behind it and stuff, but at the same time, the segment's taking up all of about 5 minutes, so there's not real, TV. I'm trying to say there's no real TV reasoning behind it in terms of TV time.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, and I'll try to explain this as briefly and quickly as possible. These days, when a guy gets burnt out or their character isn't producing, they get lumped together in a mongrel tag team. Example, Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio. Neither one of them are really producing of late, and that could be their fault, could not be their fault, I don't know. But for whatever reason, they're a little bit on the played out side. So it's time for them to get a vacation. For whatever reason, they don't do that, and they just put them in the tag division and keep them on TV, which I think is actually hindering them because it makes them look smaller than they should be, because I think they're both legitimate superstars. I just don't think that there's much for them to do at the moment. I just think you just have to take those guys off TV, and when they come back, people don't remember that they were a mongrel tag team that nobody really cared about. And hopefully you get them back in a U.S. mid-card, upper mid-card status. Rob Van Dam could even go higher eventually.
I mean, they've just announced that I think it's next week on SmackDown. There's a 4-way tag title match, which is Eddie and Booker T versus RVD and Rey Mysterio versus two actual tag teams in Mark Ginger Action and Luther Reigns, and the only actual, tag team that is a tag team is the Bashams.
Right.
But it's nice to see that, obviously, JBL's got a tag team behind him, and Angle's got a tag team behind him and that, so...
And I like the JBL stable that they have.
Yeah, exactly.
The cabinet's pretty good. It's a good idea.
Exactly.
And it does bring new people to the roster, and by the way, I just want to point this out. We are not going to be able to have Amy Weber on.
Yeah?
I don't believe so. But for whatever reason, that's like a real popular topic in 3SW.
Yeah.
People are always reading the Ask Amy Weber a Question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't quite know why, but they seem to always be there, so unfortunately we will not be able to have her on.
No.
Not until she's released or from the WWE or until they're coming to town and they need to promote a show.
Yeah. I mean,
in which case I don't think I'd ask for her anyway.
the same with Christy as well.
Yes.
She's no longer taking interview requests, unfortunately.
When she gets when that year is up, if they don't keep her, then I will definitely email her.
He'll email her on many issues.
No.
Possibly be an interview, but you never know. So I think...
and if anybody does know who that is on the cover of the Kiss Spin the Bottle tribute CD, please do let us know, because it sounds to me like Mr. Jericho has plans for her as well.
So anyway, Kane against Snitsky. Looking forward to that. That's one of the two matches I'm looking forward to the most. There is Elimination Chamber. Is there one more, or is it just the Elimination Chamber we're going to discuss?
I think that's all of them.
Cool, so it's just the main event with the referee.
Is that supposed to be a B? I'm hung up on this shirt.
Leave Batista alone. Batista, of course, will be the man who comes out of his chamber.
Isn't that a Rod Stewart song?
Pardon?
Never mind.
Anyway, Batista will be the man that comes out of his Elimination Chamber the last, after beating the clock and beating Triple H and beating everybody else's time. Edge, Jericho, Benoit, Batista, Triple H.
Well, it kind of worked out the way you would figure it because of their working style. You would figure that Batista wouldn't be in there very long. You'd figure that Jericho would be, because he's the probably the best worker. He and Benoit are probably the best workers of the bunch. So are they the first two in there, or what?
I have no idea.
Him, Edge, maybe. Edge. There's actually really good workers in this match. The only one that's not really a solid performer in terms of what they can do in the ring for long periods of time is Batista.
I suppose, those who've seen OVW may think differently, because I suppose in the WWE he's not really been in a long singles match, whereas he's had a few long tag matches and stuff. But since his improvement, his dramatic improvement over the past few months of late, at the very least, he's not really had a chance to be in a long match, as showcased typically with his squash victory over Rhino.
Uh-huh.
So Batista, you never know. He's in last, but I still think he'll be in for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, he'll probably do pretty good. He tries hard. He does try hard. I'll give him that. He just needs to figure out, and this is one thing I pointed out several months ago, and I'll point it out again. Example, when Eugene came into the ring. During a match, Eugene would punch Batista, and he'd do that thing where he'd wave his arms, or would he go down?
Yeah.
But when Eugene comes in to make the save and punches him, he flies across the ring, turns himself sideways, falls through the ropes, and falls to the floor. There's got to be some room for parity in terms of, if a punch in a match doesn't floor him, why does a punch in a run-in floor him?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I've always complained about Batista, but he tries hard. I'll give him that.
Yeah. The absolute complete shortest time that this match could possibly go would be 20 minutes and 3 seconds. Do you know why?
Why?
Because each entrant comes in 5 minutes apart. So you got your two to start out the match at 0 seconds. Then you got 4 guys enter every 5 minutes, 20 minutes. And if every other guy's been eliminated and you're just waiting for one guy to come in and he's laying on the floor ready to be pinned, comes out the chamber, stomps straight on top of him, 1, 2, 3, 20 minutes and 3 seconds. Absolute bottom minimum time. And if it ever comes anywhere even close, so such as 20 minutes and maybe even later.
I say it'll probably be about a 40-minute match.
Exactly. If it ever comes anywhere near 20 minutes, then I'll eat my dinner twice.
You'll eat your dinner twice.
I will.
Well, that's a hell of a challenge.
Thank you.
And if he wins the match, I'll eat my dinner twice. I'll have more. No, I'm sorry.
What?
For some reason, I turned you into Tiny Tim a little bit.
Dude, thanks for that. I'm not saying it.
Was Tiny Tim British?
You'd think so by the accent.
Yeah, and one would think that, actually.
Exactly. So, but who do you think's actually going to win the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't think Jericho has a chance in Blue Hell.
No, Jericho,
Benoit, basically, don't have a chance.
I don't know about Benoit, maybe. Jericho's the only one that's got absolutely no chance.
Pretty much, no. That's no slight on Jericho. That's just saying that the way that it's been booked, he doesn't seem to be in the contendership, really.
Yeah. I mean, originally it seemed like Randy Orton was the only one that didn't really have a claim to be in the match itself. But now it seems that Jericho's the one who's in there to make everyone else look good and not to win.
Yeah.
So that would be a complete surprise. I'd be shocked myself.
Well, let's see. We got
Edge.
Edge, I don't think they're going to give it to him, but I think he's going to come close.
He's an outsider's bet. So.
Here, let me put it this way. Every time, and I'll give credit to Eric Clancy, Erickson, I'll see whatever the hell I call him on the message boards. Eric Clancy for this, because he made a great point. Every time Shawn Michaels is a special guest referee, something controversial happens.
Yeah.
Example, SummerSlam 1997, he was aiming for Bret with the chair, Bret ducked out of the way, and he hit The Undertaker. Bret walks out with the world title. Jim Ross has yet to figure that out, by the way.
SmackDown.
What?
First ever SmackDown. He turns heel on the Raw.
Yep.
Switching music.
He DQ'd him, yep. Absolutely. But they did the thing, and I'm going to point this out. I don't think Jim Ross has ever figured out the SummerSlam ending. If anybody has the tape of this, watch it, because they showed the replay about 10 times, and Jim Ross does nothing but say, I don't understand why he did that. What do you mean? Bret ducked out of the way, and he hit The Undertaker. He was trying to hit Bret. He got The Undertaker. Why'd he do that? It reminds me of like the South Park episode. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're the critter creatures, and Santa comes down because they're devil worshippers, and the fat little teddy bear thing goes, gee golly, Santa, you're not going to shoot me, are you? I mean, that's what Jim Ross sounded like. He just like a deer in the headlights. He didn't know what was going on. And
You've been clearly wanting to vent that frustration for a while now.
Yeah, well, I was watching it the other day, and I was thinking that's ridiculous. How could he not get it? He must get it, but why is he acting like he doesn't?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, right. Shawn Michaels referee. Edge, we said, is the outsider's bet. Jericho, pretty much no chance. Benoit, not looking likely.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of the same as an Edge situation. A Jericho situation. He's in there to make the match good. And
I'd say it's pretty much down between Triple H, Randy Orton, and Edge. Batista has a chance, but I have a feeling that there's going to be some kind of a confrontation, and Triple H eliminates him.
I think there'll be, I think Triple H and Batista, I think, will play a part in each other's elimination, which would leave it down to Randy Orton. But at the same time, I don't think Randy Orton's going to win. But I don't think that Benoit's going to win, and I don't think that Edge is going to win.
I think that, and I'll get back to my point here. Every time Michaels is a special guest referee, somebody gets screwed. Edge has the character now where he feels like he's getting screwed no matter what.
Yeah.
Edge is going to get screwed. I think that'll be the finish. It'll be down to Edge and somebody else, and somehow he'll do something to Michaels. Michaels will kick him, do something to him. Or he won't count something or count another, like they'll have two pins available, and he won't take the right one. Something like that. They're going to do something where Edge feels he got cheated. Yeah. And that'll eventually lead to probably Edge, Michaels, at an upcoming event, depending on how healthy Michaels is.
Yeah. Let's see.
And it'll keep the frustration on edge to when he actually gets a chance at the title again, probably at WrestleMania.
So, what do you think the Raw title match will be at the Royal Rumble then? Who out of the 7 people involved in this match, including Michaels, will be involved in the Raw title match, and who will be involved in the Royal Rumble?
Good question. I have no idea about either. It's just it could be anybody. I think if Triple H wins, it'll probably be Orton that challenges, or Orton or Benoit that challenges.
Yeah.
If Jericho wins, I think that well, that's not going to happen. Same goes with anybody else. It's going to be. It's pretty much down to Triple H, Batista, Edge, or Orton. Any of those 4 could walk out with it. I wouldn't put it on Batista, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was thinking the other day how annoying it will be that, obviously Undertaker won't be in the Royal Rumble, Heidenreich won't, JBL, Kurt Angle, and Big Show won't, 2 people of Raw won't, etc., etc. But at the same time, that still leaves RVD, Rey Mysterio, Booker T, Eddie Guerrero, 5 people probably from this match, and more and more.
Well, what you're going to see is a lot of guys from Heat and Velocity in the match, which is good because you actually get them on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of what I was talking about.
I want Goldust back. Anyway.
Well, hopefully we'll get him on the show if he ever answers his phone.
Exactly, that'll do.
Yeah.
He won't be the Royal Rumble, so that'll be.
We had him booked, and I had to talk him into it because he did another radio show, which shall remain nameless, but I know who they are. And apparently that they thought they were the greatest thing, and they thought they were hysterical. And he hated the interview that they did so much that he has to actually be talked into doing it, which should give you an example of just how out of sync the other shows are in terms of what the guest actually wants to talk about.
But
they don't. After doing their interview, they just decide, I'm not doing any more ever again. Well, they must really be good. Yep.
But if we're going to pick one person to win the Royal Rumble, fuck that. Sorry, to win the Elimination Chamber, who's it going to be?
I'm going to say Randy Orton.
I'm going to go with Triple H and be boring.
Yeah, I bet he does. There's a chance either one of them can get it, but like I said, it's pretty much down to those 4. It's down to Batista, Triple H, Edge, or Randy Orton. But I bet you anything that it's going to come down to Edge and whoever's going to win, because Edge is going to get screwed.
And now, of course, what will actually happen this Sunday is that it'll come down to Jericho and Benoit, with Jericho winning it.
Yep.
Because we've just prophesied that there's no chance in hell of that happening.
Yes. Jericho will win it. I was going to say some funny move, but I can't think of anything.
Yeah. A line thought off the top of the Hell in a Cell.
Yep.
It's going to be substituted for Hell in a Cell instead of Elimination Chamber.
Yep.
Saved that one, didn't I? Yeah. Just one more thing I want to talk about before we close off.
Okay.
Ring of Honor.
Okay.
And the Dahi developmental deals. Apparently, 3 Ring of Honor people have been offered WWE developmental deals, similar to what Paul Wagner would have assumedly taken when he jumped from the indie circuit to WWE. And they're apparently, according to the Declaration of Independence, is the source for this at the moment, a deal brokered between Tommy Dreamer and apparently Rob Feinstein. Rob Feinstein was the guy recommending these guys. And apparently it's Jay Lethal, Jack Evans, and Alex Shelley are people who have been rumoured. So, just it interests me slightly. Obviously, people at Science WWE nowadays know that their movesets are wildly toned down. Jay Lethal will probably be, out of those 3, the most WWE-ish. I was talking to a chap off the 3SW forums called Subculture the other day, and he said that he thinks he'd be perfect for WWE. And while I don't disagree with that. I still don't think that he would be my first choice. Fine, if I was.
Here's the status, and if I can chime in, I've been pretty tough on Alex Shelley. Well, you just mentioned Alex Shelley, and I just wanted to chime in with this. I've always been somewhat negative towards Alex Shelley, especially in my articles and such, using him as the perfect example of a guy that got an opportunity in TNA that simply was not ready yet. And the truth is, he was not ready yet. But that should not mean, even though I said, bad things about him, that he will never be ready. Developmental is exactly that. They try to teach you what you have to do when you're on TV. And I think that would be perfect for him, because he's obviously got something there. I don't know if he'll ever be a main event star, but he has something there that could be interesting to people. But quite frankly, Ring of Honor fans, for whatever reason, thought this guy was the savior for TNA when he came in, and he simply wasn't. He didn't even belong on the show. As for Jack Evans, and I didn't even catch the other guy's name.
The other guy, Jay Lethal.
Yeah. I honestly have never seen the other guy work, but I've seen Jack Evans. I think he's a talented high flyer, and if he's taught properly about psychology, he'd be good. And as for, if I could throw this little comment in there about subculture, the only complaint I could say about him is he seems to think that success is a negative thing.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the problem with a lot of internet fans, that for whatever reason they think TNA is actually trying to get on better TV deals, and trying to put money into production and have a well-presented product is a bad thing. They think that's terrible, and that Ring of Honor using video cameras from different angles, that it looks exactly like that, is a good thing.
I think it's more a case of them thinking that they need to spend more time put in the actual product rather than the superficial things such as, like you say, the production and stuff.
You're running an entertainment product. You have to have, first of all, nobody's going to compete with WWE in terms of production.
Yeah.
Vince has the same caliber of production crew that Disney has. It's just incredible. But if you're going to try to be even close to the same par, you have to actually have multiple camera angles. You have to have lighting that looks tremendous. You have to have those things. ECW didn't, but Ring of Honor is not ECW. Neither is, TNA is not ECW. TNA actually is putting money into pyro and things like that. And you know what? For the first time, I believe ever in the history of the company, in Turning Point, they turned a profit.
I'll leave that one. I don't know, I'm not sure if
They have. They're actually in the blue, if that makes any sense. It's official. They've actually made money off that pay-per-view. Which is, I'm not saying that it's billions, but I'm saying that making money as opposed to losing money is certainly the way to go.
Oh, yeah. But, of course, those three guys have apparently been tapped up for a developmental deal. And two guys that apparently Mick Foley and Randy and Ricky Steamboat have been recommending of late have been Samoa Joe and CM Punk.
Yes, and in our interview with Ricky Steamboat, he mentioned that he thinks CM Punk would be a good opening card guy for WWE. He does not think that he'd be a main event superstar, which the internet seems to not grasp the opinion of. But, because quite frankly, he's an okay talker. He's not that great. Let's just be honest with that. And
he makes things believable. He doesn't go all over the top with, like emotion about everything. And, he's not.
Yes, but
believable.
Yes, that's true, but he's just a little bit on the overrated side in terms of talker. He basically cuts Raven promos from 1997. Which is why most who are being intellectually honest say that he's Raven's lackey, because they're the same character.
I disagree. I don't know what event it's from, but I caught a promo by him the other day. I think it was before one of his big mammoth long matches with Joe, but it was just like a decent. I think it was at the beginning of the event where he was trying to beat Joe in his hometown, which I think would be Joe versus Punk 3 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure which one. But and he basically just summed up quite nicely why he was fighting Samoa Joe and why he was going to kick his ass in his hometown and stuff.
Mm. Well, I didn't say it was a bad time.
That one, because that's a really good. It was really good. It really made me believe, actually want to watch the long match. And I'm not a big fan of huge ass long matches, but.
Well, all I can say is that TNA is a pretty good example of the WWE, just a smaller scale. And when CM Punk was in TNA, he was horrible. He was probably the biggest waste of time in TNA history. And that's just being honest. They gave him perfect opportunities to cut promos. He did an okay job. It's just that the fans didn't care. And I'm not saying this to be mean, because I like the guy. I think the fact that he doesn't do drugs, and I think that's legitimate. That he doesn't do drugs, he doesn't drink. I think that's actually a good message to send to people. It's ironic that it actually turns him heel. But I think it's a good message. I just personally think that the internet, for whatever reason, they're backing somebody that's not going to make it that far. I do think he's talented. I do think that he's WWE quality. He's just not main event quality.
Someone said to me today, I think if WWE signed Punk, he'd be the kind of guy they could do a couple of angles with and then they want rid of. I think that's fair enough, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I disagree with you about him not being very good in TNA. I bought into the whole gathering thing. I like that.
Yeah, but the crowd didn't buy it, but then is that really their fault? Because the crowd was, at that point, was starting to get to that insane clown posse idiocy, so...
The person you got to feel sorry for in the whole thing is Julio De Niro, who, fair enough, he only got his break in TNA because someone didn't turn up. But at the same time, he was doing the whole gathering thing with CM Punk, and then CM Punk had a fight with Teddy Hart, and yada yada yada, and now CM Punk isn't used.
Mm.
But,
where is Julio?
Of course, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that obviously Julio De Niro is the one that's missed out because of that.
Where is he?
God knows where he is now.
Well, yeah. Because I actually thought he was better than CM Punk in terms of working, which I know I'm going to get hate mail about. But my opinion is that, I won't get into it. It's just not worth it. I've said it all in articles before, and it's fine. I respect what the internet thinks. I just think that somehow they confuse success with failure. I don't know how that is, but it's true.
Yeah, I get you. What was the one thing I was going to say just there? I can't remember it now. There was one thing I was going to say. I can't think what it was. No, it's gone.
Oh, well, out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
So, let's close out. I'm not going to play a Fozzy song, believe it or not. No. But I will play something that they've covered.
Okay.
How about the original version of Blackout by the Scorpions? And the only thing that I will say about the Fozzy version of the song is at the end of the song, and I use this occasionally at the as a breaking point between the segments, at the end of the original song, that there's a segment where the guy starts using really high-pitched, the guy's name is Klaus Meine, high-pitched singing, and then all of a sudden you hear sound of glass breaking.
Yes, I know that.
Yes. Well, in Jericho's version, for whatever reason, instead of having that, it just kind of fades out.
All right.
Which I don't think gives the same effect. But anyway, here's the original version.